from the beautiful small island of Bute in Bonnie, Scotland, Miss Lena Zavaroni.
I met Lena at school. We were both in the same year at school, and we just connected immediately.
If they could see me now, that little gal on mine.
Back in 1974, a tiny 10-year-old Scottish girl called Lena Zavaroni took to the stage of Opportunity Knocks, won the show, and the hearts of the nation.
The thing about Lena was she had this remarkable talent. And it was always the fact, oh, such a big voice and such a small person. It was just such a remarkable voice, full stop.
I actually can remember watching when she burst onto the screens in Opportunity Knocks. It was extraordinary. There was this little girl, and this massive voice coming out. It was, wow.
It was definitely her happy place. And she was so much more comfortable in that environment than she was in real life.
I was actually in school with her. She was in the next classroom to me at theatre school. And we used to see her, and she was getting skinnier and skinnier every time I looked at her.
By the time she was 11, Lena was a multi-million album-selling star. But fame came at a price. As she hit puberty, headlines emerged that Lena was suffering from depression. And this, combined with the pressure of maintaining showbiz looks and figure, led teenage Lena to become this country's first high-profile anorexic.
I remember when she must have been developing as a woman, and she was still dressing in her little dresses with a big bow and her socks up to her knees. But that's dangerous, and I think that's when you can start having problems, because you don't want to put weight on, you don't want to develop. And at a very early age, I think that somebody should have been looking out for her.
Now, what's all this diet bit?
I used to have some weight problems. I came up to London, and of course I went on TV and I looked too fat. So I just had to go on a diet.
When I went for my first audition to that same theatre school, they said, lovely little actress, but she'll never get anywhere with a figure like that. And, you know, there was that pressure. If you wanted to go on the stage, you had to look a certain way.
Despite publicly battling anorexia, Lena's success continued for over a decade.
I did a TV show with Lena Zavaroni when she must have been in her 30s. You could just see that she was just too fragile for life somehow, and she wasn't coping with it.
You could tell in some interviews, you could tell in her eyes that there was just something very wrong. And although she was saying she felt a lot better, she obviously really was not.
I feel as if I've grown up a bit more, and I can cope with things a lot better.
By the late 1980s, Lena's crippling depression meant that she all but disappeared from public view, and led her to undergo some drastic surgery.
She felt that she had this kind of darkness in her brain, and she decided if she could just get rid of that, everything would be fine. And she was fine. And then she couldn't come through. She physically wasn't strong enough to come through to fight any infection that would come after that.
Family and friends of Lena Zavaroni today paid tribute to the former child star whose 20-year battle with anorexia ultimately led to her death.
I went to Lena's funeral. It was a bit of a circus. As they brought her coffin down, this black butterfly flew off her coffin. Wow. And I said, there she goes.
It was terribly tragic for her to pass away at such a young age.
When I think of Lena now, I always try and think of two things. First of all, her magnificent voice. And secondly, I think of her humour. And that's how I want to remember her. Because this illness wasn't her. It became her. And it wasn't really the true spirit of her. And I remember those two things.
So sleep.